Welcome to another episode of Bengals and Brews. You popping one, Derek?
There it is.
Let's go. Today we're joined by John Sheeran. Am I saying that right? I feel like I'm always screwing people's names up.
You are absolutely saying that right, my good sir.
Oh, so technical difficulty. There we go.
Alrighty, guys. John Sheeran from Cincy Jungle and Bengals OBI. Very knowledgeable guy. I was going to put handsome, but, I'll let you guys judge that for yourself.
Yeah, very subjective,
Yeah, I didn't want to pump him up too much.
I was going to say, we've already heard that he was the most talented Bengals beat writer in the history of beat writing or something like that from the live show Friday.
Well, I mean, you grow so many contacts and you end up starting to pay some of these guys to compliment you. So you got a lot of haters out there, so you got to feel good sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just start off with what are we drinking tonight, guys?
I am, speaking of paying people, this is a shotgun wedding. You can see the nice.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah, it's Country Boy Brewing. Brown ale aged on vanilla beans. It's freaking really good. But it's Georgetown, Kentucky. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that area.
Well, yeah, that's the old
where they used to practice.
Yeah, I went there a few times. They used to do all kinds of autographs and stuff when they practiced there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how about you, John?
Well, just on the subject of Georgetown, I have this picture here. This is me right here when I'm 11 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My two best friends. This is Roy Williams. This is 2009 training camp down in Georgetown. It's one of the many pictures that we got down there. But that was when I couldn't drink legally alcohol. But now I got we got Iron Maiden Brewdog Hellcat, a Indian Pale Lager. I don't know. I was looking for an aesthetic for tonight, and I figured Iron Maiden probably fits the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dale, what you got on?
I've got this ice cold Miller Lite brewed by Anheuser-Busch. Shout out Miller Lite. I'm still waiting on you to DM me. I've been waiting. It's been a while, but the DMs are still open, so
yep,
anytime.
I was going to say,
who's watching the Kentucky Derby? So we got some Kentucky Derby and Bengals and Brews, so might lose some audience to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, should I drink my beer with my pinky out like this while we're talking Kentucky bourbon or? See, I'm always thinking about bourbon. Kentucky Derby.
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
I need one of those big hats. Do men wear the big hats too, or is that just the women?
I think anything goes down there, to be honest with you.
It's a free-for-all, I'm pretty sure. All right. We don't have a lot of Bengals news coming off the draft, but we will try to recap some things before we just break into chaos. We're starting off almost chaotic right away, so that could be an interesting night. Schedule release this coming Thursday, May 12th. So how many primetime games do you guys think we'll get? And which ones maybe home and away? I've kind of got the schedule up here, or the teams we play. In case you guys don't know, I can read those off if you want me to.
No, it's technically this coming Thursday, right? Because
you're cutting out, brother.
All week, given.
Now, fix your Wi-Fi, Derek. All right, I'll ask you first, John.
Yeah, so they have the Bills and the Chiefs at home, I believe, and
correct.
Obviously play the Browns both times. They play the Cowboys at Dallas, and they play at Tampa Bay. So I think general consensus right now is that it's going to be about 5 primetime games. That's about the average that a team that just went to the Super Bowl plays, and those are the 5 most likely teams that they're going to face. Those are the teams that people want to see them play, just to see if they can repeat that success. I would say for sure a Browns primetime game. That's usually a lock for a Thursday night.
That's true.
This is going to be maybe the only time Burrow's ever going to play Brady. I would lock that in now as well.
Yeah, that one has to be.
Right. And then I'm sure they're going to want to get the Chiefs rematch as well. So those are my I would lock in those 3, and then likely the Bills, just because that's a marquee AFC matchup. And then you could have some maybe a Steelers or Ravens game as well.
Yeah. Another one that I don't think you mentioned there was the Saints. So going back to New Orleans, I could see that as another one that they might want to put on in a primetime spot. Derek, do you have thoughts? Are you back with us now?
Am I back? Can everybody hear me all right?
We got you.
You're
Okay.
good.
I shut the internet off on my phone. Hopefully that pans out. But yeah, I was going to say, I think are they doing announcing each week or something or each day?
I don't know how they do it. I know they have a show at like 8:00, but that when Thursday comes around, you'll start seeing leaks. Like there's usually leaks all day long Thursday.
I thought I heard somewhere where Amazon was going to announce a couple of their games and on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and CBS and Fox and all these guys were going to just announce a few of them here and there throughout the week, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's throughout the day. Thursday is what they're going to do, but
Yeah, I think like each network gets a day to reveal like some of like their best matchups or whatever. But I mean, we are like very rapidly approaching it to be like a Broadway festival or like a musical of the schedule release.
yeah.
And I'm not really looking forward to that. I just want like 10 years ago, it's just like here's the schedule, this is what it is.
Exactly.
It's just a way for
Like
them
you'll
to
have
yeah.
I was going to say you'll have Houday riding around on his go-kart talking about each and every game of the week or whatever. But I honestly, I'm kind of excited about it because
how many do you think? Do you ever answer any of the questions I ask, or you just make your own questions?
How many do I think?
Yeah,
5. I think it honestly 5. Now
there's a cap on it, right? 5 or 6.
I think it's 6 games. I think you're have a max of 6 games, but I could be wrong on that.
I feel like Dallas on Sunday Night Football 10 times a year though.
It feels like it, but I just remember hearing that with the Chiefs because where we played them late in the year, a lot of people thought that one might get flexed, and the Chiefs were kind of like up against they had already been on so many times, and that's the first time I had heard about it. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it more.
I think it's something like you can have up to 6 games, and you can also get flexed into like 1 or 2. I can't remember the exact amount, but yeah, I think now the difference is I don't think you will see very many Bengals 1 o'clock games this year. I think we'll have that prime slot. Maybe it won't necessarily be Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, but you'll have Sunday at 4:05 or 4:25 or whatever. So I think all in all, we might have 8 or 9 games that are not 1 o'clock, and then have the other 7 or 8 or whatever they are.
Well, if the Saints is not a primetime game, that'll probably be a 4 o'clock game.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Well, like primetime is
sorry.
The primetime is usually just like it's that word is for like night games. But the 4:25 game on CBS, when like every other game is like done, that's basically like the entire country's watching at that point. So
yeah.
And
I personally love those games because you can go to the bar after and have a few more drinks and enjoy the night a little more. Normally after the night games, Dale, I remember you after the Raiders game, you were ready to go to bed almost immediately after, and I drug your ass out. But
dude, it was like 1 o'clock. Immediately after my ass, we stayed and tailgated in the parking lot till there was no one there but the homeless guy who chased our vehicle.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Fun.
Yeah,
that
it was not fun. It wasn't fun for Sarah. She was terrified. She was driving. Cutting out again, buddy. All right, John, let's get into a little draft. We're gonna have Derek in and out here. You've probably went over the draft so many times, and I've went over the draft so many times, but we'll just try to recap it quickly. So Dax Hill, I thought best player available. What was your thoughts?
100%. I think when it came down to that, like you had Kyler Gordon still there. Other than that, there wasn't like an obvious choice, I think. And I think Dax Hill was still a little surprising just because I don't know if you just got like a good sense that they were actually targeting a safety early. And I don't think that they were necessarily expecting it. Like from what we've read about what Andrew Johnson, one of the scouts who has like been eyeing Dax Hill for a year now because he grew up in Ann Arbor and he's been up there multiple times to see him. I think he was on record for saying that he was not expecting him to be there at all. And it was just a situation where the board fell a certain way. He just happened to be the one like exception, like this guy's standing out on our board and we can't possibly pass him up. But also it's not like it's a complete like random position. There was talk about, maybe they take a safety early for a contingency plan in case Bates and or Bell aren't back, and he's definitely the case there. But I think you're very comfortable going forward with Dax Hill as one of your starters in 2023 and beyond, and a guy that can play 400, 500 snaps this year easily in multiple roles.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they set out to say, okay, we're targeting these safeties, but it's like, oh man, Dax Hill is clear, far and above everyone else on our board at this point. I think they would have taken Karlaftis from everything I've heard and everything everyone said, and that was kind of my guy, that I let get excited about for a few days. But Dax Hill still being available was a great consolation prize, and he's going to be a great player, and he's going to be a great player right away because Crazy Uncle Lou's going to have all kinds of schemes for him.
Yeah, so Karlaftis got a lot of buzz, at least with the Bengals community, late in the process when it was rumored that he was going to fall that he did. The Chiefs picked him up. I don't know if it's just like the propaganda that we hear right after the draft, like, oh, we've been eyeing this guy for so long, and Dax Hill was this high on our board. Like, I don't know if it's just that, but it also could just be the point that we're like, maybe Dax Hill was also higher on their board than Karlaftis. And Karlaftis checked a lot of the boxes from our perspective on what they would look at, but we won't ever really know where Karlaftis was on the
board.
I've
said that so many times. I'm like, I wish even if it was like 5 years later, 10 years later, that I could get like their board somehow.
So it makes a lot of sense if Karlaftis were there that they would pick him. But at this point, I don't know if it would have been like a slam dunk, like they would have absolutely done it. Because I think everything that they've said about Dax Hill and what he can do, I think that he might have been the pick regardless.
Yeah, and we know Andrew Johnson, if he had any say, he would have definitely been standing on the table for Dax Hill.
100%.
And Derek got to call the Dax Hill pick, so now that he's trying to come back and test the internet here.
You guys were talking about Dax, and I'm like, man, if I don't even get to talk about this pick. I was absolutely hyped for it. That was one guy that even 2-3 months ago, when we first started the Bengals and Brews podcast,
you said his name every time. You at least mentioned it every time we talked draft.
Honestly, it all started with Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and he really turned me on to him when they did a mock draft, and they were talking about how versatile he was, and I'm like, that's what we need, and I saw it from day one.
Our buddy Santori here from Rally Round the Natty's telling you to put a shirt on, Derek.
The skeleton has one because he doesn't have the muscles that Derek has.
Yeah, see,
I don't know about
and just
all
for
that,
everyone just so you know, Derek's been hitting the gym hard. So show him, give us a flex, Derek. Give a flex for
there you go. No, this right here. So I'm a big fan of these kind of tops and stuff like
dope.
that. And I looked around. I'm like, man, I can't find anybody to make these. And a friend of ours does a lot of shirts and makes some stuff like that. So if you want a Bengals and Brews, what do you call these things? Brawl top or tank top? Yeah, something like that. If you want one of those, hit me up and I can get a hold of it.
No, it's literally called a tank top, not something like that. It's literally called a tank top.
But yeah, definitely hit me up and I can get some of these made for everybody.
For sure. All right.
I was going to say sun's out, guns out, but it's fucking cold out there. It's literally terrible right now. But
so Derek loves to puff on himself because he predicted Dax Hill, so we give him that love. I'll puff on myself. I predicted Cam Taylor-Britt on the Iceman's show, so I give myself a pat on the back for that one. It just seemed like it made sense. I was hoping McCreary would maybe fall from Auburn. I liked him a little more than Taylor-Britt, but you can't complain. Yeah. He's a captain, Nebraska. You had that connection. Just it made a lot of sense. Surprised they traded up, but you didn't give up much to trade up 3 spots. What's your thoughts on that Cam Taylor-Britt pick?
McCreary really stood out to me too in the process, but like hearing everything or just seeing what their class was, like they definitely have certain types in terms of physical traits that you look for, and McCreary with his 28-inch arms probably wasn't going to get the nod over Taylor-Britt with his prototypical length and frame. The Nebraska connection probably didn't hurt either, but I think you're right. Like at that point in the draft, when a lot of the cornerbacks were off the board, you were looking at him, maybe Martin Emerson, but he's more of a project too. Like they clearly wanted a cornerback early to compete with Eli Apple, and he was probably the best one left. And I think we just look at it and say, oh yeah, they just gave up a late 6th round pick. It's nothing And I don't believe that's how Duke Tobin looks at it. They don't ever
Yeah.
trade up. They rarely do. And when they do, it has never been for good results. You can look at their history for trading up, and it's a lot of bad names. So it's definitely not something that they like to do, regardless if they give up like the 200th pick in the draft or whatever that they ended up doing. But I think they deemed it was worth it because of the state of their roster. Overall, they didn't need 8 draft picks necessarily, but they needed a cornerback who can start early, and Taylor Britt definitely has a chance to do that.
Yeah, definitely. That was going to be one of my questions for you was do you envision Eli Apple being the starting corner, or do you think Cam Taylor has a real shot? So it's really good to hear that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but our buddy Bengals Sands here is wanting John to rip off the sleeves and show together.
Two more of these, Mike.
Two more, Mike. So count them. All right, continue, Derek. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
Okay.
I leave my sentences open ended so other people can finish them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to finish each other's. Come on, Derek, finish it.
Sandwiches.
There you go. Nailed it.
Go for a sandwich right now. Eli Apple was, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like at this point, we've probably seen the best out of Eli Apple because this is his 6th, 7th year in the league. It probably isn't going to get better than this, but it stands to reason that he could just be the same player that he was last year, and that player was good enough.
I was going to say, we'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there's a real situation where Taylor Britt isn't necessarily ready. He's still a rookie cornerback, trying to find his place in the league. I think ideally in their minds, he's probably good enough and they can comfortably have Eli Apple as that first cornerback off the bench. But it's a possibility that Apple's just more consistent out of the gate, and it takes Taylor Britt a little bit of time to get there. And at cornerback, it's not like a position where it's like pass rusher where you're rotating these guys in and out of the game. Like, you're expecting these guys to play 90%, 95% of the snaps. So it's going to be Eli Apple's job until he loses it. And it's not going to be like you're just easing Taylor Britt in. He's got to earn in practice.
Before we move on to the third round, a thought I've kind of had looking back at the board and just everything. I wonder if Trey McBride was an option, because I was kind of looking back, they said, the 10 picks before us, I think one of the scouts mentioned. So I'm like looking at those picks and I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot here that I felt like I thought they would have taken. The only guy that stood out to me a little bit was Trey McBride. So I wonder if they were in on him maybe in that second round.
I think they were in on McBride. There was just too much smoke to completely ignore that connection early, right before the draft. I never believed the round 1 stuff, but I definitely thought that if he made it to round 2, like, that was a definite possibility. As far as anyone else who got picked right before them, I guess Cam Jurgens, another Nebraska guy who also worked with Paul Alexander in the offseason. They still, I guess, trust him with those evaluations. So maybe he was one of the guys that they thought. But I just really thought that, like, the cornerback class was just completely thinned out at that point, and they kind of felt desperate. That's just what I'm believing.
Now, before we go into the third round, what's your thoughts on, like, as far as the tight end goes? Because I had said on our show before that there's kind of a Hurst curse. It seems like no matter where he goes, there's always this better tight end, or he has to compete and he just never really gets that shot. But
I guess I can bring this up if you're talking Hurst and stuff too, and we're talking tight end. So we had this question from Hoss a little ways back that I didn't get to.
Oh yeah,
would you trade Jesse Bates for Darren Waller?
Straight up.
No, like, I wouldn't straight up. But
are the Raiders taking that? They're taking a safety on a franchise tag.
But it is a 30-year-old tight end now.
Well, so why are the Bengals taking that? It seems like a no.
Like a lose almost. If I was from the Bengals perspective, I was like, I would want like at least a 3rd round pick with Waller if I'm getting rid of Bates this year, because if we just were in the Super Bowl, like, I think he's a big part of our future. It does, and I don't think the Bengals would do it anyways because of Hayden Hurst. I think they want to see what he can do.
Yeah, I think if there is a Hurst curse, it probably ends this year just for the sake of opportunity, because Drew Sample's not gunning for those snaps. He's not gunning for those targets. He's Drew Sample at this point. So I think Hurst can maximize whatever his maximum production is in the league, and maybe that's 600 yards, 5 TDs, which is slightly around what he had in his 1 year as the starter with the Falcons. And that's about as much as you could expect any tight end in this offense who's not a Travis Kelce or a Darren Waller, maybe, because of the 3 receivers that you have along with Joe Mixon. So honestly, like, I know tight end it's definitely not their strong suit on the roster right now, but it doesn't really need to be when you have just the incredible stable of receivers around Burrow.
Yeah, I even said that 700 yards and 8 touchdowns is not out of the realm of possibilities, and that would be a career year for Hurst. And in my eyes, that's really all we need from the tight end position. But
as long as our big 3 receivers stay healthy, what you get from the tight end is really a little extra bonus. And I still think a guy like Chris Evans, if he starts getting in there and getting some of those, catching some passes and getting a little more production as like a third down back, if they play him more, who knows? But that could be a guy. Let's go ahead and jump to the 3rd round, though. So we drafted Zachary Carter from Florida. My original ranks, I had him as a defensive end because, he kind of had played both. But if you look at him as a defensive end, his relative athletic scores and everything like that is not very good. Now, you plug him in as a defensive tackle, you're like, okay, this is a lot better. And his production with 8.5 sacks, and you see what he does when he has slid inside and played. I'm really excited about that pick, and I don't know that there was really – I wanted Winfrey in the moment, but it's like I think he is similar to him, and he's done a little more, overall with the run game and stuff that Winfrey never did at Oklahoma.
Yeah, we never saw Winfrey test because of an injury, and had he tested, I think he would have tested a little bit better than Carter compared to his size. I think it was Mike Potts who said that Carter was probably around 290, maybe closer to 300 in Florida, and then he tested at 282 to better his testing numbers and whatnot. And he still didn't really test like a great athlete, so he's not winning off the edge in the NFL. Basically, with that lack of explosion and speed, he's going to do most of his damage inside. And I would imagine the Bengals will bulk him back up to the 290 range so he can just be a full-time 3 technique, but you have the length and the experience to playing over the tackle so you can fit into the rotation at the 5 technique spot. And that seemed to be the type of player that they were targeting at defensive tackle. But unfortunately, it just was not a very good defensive tackle class, and that did not align with their dire need at that position behind BJ Hill. So I think Carter is in the same realm and the same tier of the available defensive tackles that were there, but he at least has production against quality competition behind him. So I don't think it's a terrible 3rd round pick, but it definitely isn't going to wow you in the moment, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, we got to talk about this. Rally Around the Natty talking about drinking rum and Kool-Aid. We got to ask, is there any water? Is it just the Kool-Aid packet, the sugar, and then just straight rum? What are we doing with that?
I hope there's some water in there. Jesus.
Yeah. Are we going hard or what?
Rum and Kool-Aid, does this not sound...
Now, I did see, I saw today somebody, have you ever seen the where they take the gummy bears and they pour the alcohol in them and let them absorb it? That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. There's at least preparation with that. I would imagine, okay, so he did clarify it was water, but if there wasn't water, is he pouring the packets in his mouth and taking the rum and making it?
Yeah. And is he mixing in the hot sauce? Because every time he comes on our show, he takes shots of hot sauce. It's like his
stick. Yeah.
It's quite phenomenal, really. It's amazing. Derek, you got anything on Carter, or you want to move on to 4th round?
No, we can. Seems like a fun guy. That's really all I got on him.
He's got good vibes, That's so important. Yeah. A lot of these guys bust because their vibes are off.
He seems like a fun guy. Yeah, he's a wild and crazy guy.
No, there's valid to this. Like Taylor Britt, his vibes are really good. He just seems like a really nice, not a nice guy, but he could be nice, but a guy who's mind is right. And I feel like those are the guys that maximize their potential. They take the coaching good. And I think that's what we can say about this 4th round pick too.
Yeah.
Good vibes only, guys.
Cordell Volson, 4th round pick, North Dakota State. Played mostly right tackle there. An older prospect. He had took advantage of the extra year. I'd actually scouted him a little bit the year before. He was always listed as 6'7", which I think he still measured in at over 6'6". Mm-hmm. That's one of my bigger concerns because, we had Michael Jordan, who was a 6'6" guy from Ohio State, trying to play guard, and it didn't work out. And moving a guy from tackle to guard is my biggest concern. But if he's a glass or ass eater or whatever kind of, maniac that Frank Pollock likes,
he got that shit in his neck.
His throat. Yeah, whatever is going on lately with these crazy phrases. Maybe he'll work out a left guard. What's your thoughts, John?
Yeah, I think they got to take the mic away from Pollock at this point before he does say
No,
he's an ass eater.
leave it. I'm saying leave it because
I'm starting to get
getting
like
some
Rex
great
Ryan
quality here.
foot fetish vibes, but with like shit. He's like, we're gonna hear like an Odell Beckham story that he likes to get shit on or something.
I need to ask Emily Parker if she's down with keeping the mic in front of Pollock, but I think Volson does he's like the antithesis of what Jackson Carman was last year, and just a guy who I think is going to come in and take the coaching. He brings his lunch pail first and last out. He's white.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think he's solid though, and I think there is a valid point with the leverage and him being 6'6" playing inside. I think with him though, I think his anchor is a lot better than some of the past guys who didn't work out at that height. So I think he's got more pop to his game. He didn't really test that well, but there was, I think, some inconsistencies between his combine numbers and his pro day numbers. So I think on tape, he's a little bit more athletic than what his initial testing numbers were, which is important if you're going to be into his zone blocking scheme. So I think he's fine. Again, we didn't really know a lot about him just because he was at North Dakota State. Like you said, he was a 6-year guy. He's 24 years old, just pounding on these FCS dudes, but they do a lot of pro style stuff at North Dakota State. So I don't think the learning curve is going to be that big. It's just a matter of, okay, how does his power and his overall strength, how does that match up against actual competent pass rushers? We're definitely going to find out in August.
Yeah. See, here's what I want. Zach Taylor, he's friends with Sean McVay. They're buddies, right? Call up Sean, say, hey, Sean, we need to borrow AD for a day. Bring AD in, go up against him one-on-one. If you can hold AD for 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, maybe 3 if we're lucky, then we're good. Just find us a guy that can hold up against the best of the best, and then we'll be good to go.
So you're running everybody out there. You're running
Just
Carmen, you're running Volson, you're like whoever can do the best. It's like a bull riding competition.
I'll go to the Holy Grail. We'll pull up some bartenders. We'll pull up some barflies, whoever. If you can hold up against AD for 3 seconds, we'll be ready to rock.
That's the crazy thing about Donald, man. Like, as soon as you think he's going to hit you with a bull, he hits you with a swim, and he's just like past you. He wins with power and speed. It's almost like the best guys are the ones who just stay in front of him and can just maybe fall a little bit slower when they're getting bull rushed back. It's crazy.
Yeah, and not to go back to Carter, but that D-line class, like, there's nobody even close to an Aaron Donald and Geno Atkins. Like, this draft just did not have hardly anything when it comes to guys like that.
And you had to come out this draft, I think, with at least someone.
Some depth,
Yeah, right. So, that was my thought on, good dude, good vibes.
Sands has had a couple drinks, man. Sands has had a couple drinks. He's ready to go against Aaron Donald. But we got to have the ambulance on standby.
I need to make sure that Sands cuts his grass successfully the next time before I see him line up again.
We got to know. There's got to be a story behind that.
That's what I was waiting on.
Well, apparently, he didn't fall off. He told the story. Now I forget, so I feel a little bad. But he injured himself riding his lawnmower 2 weeks ago.
Oh God! Was he on a hill? Well, he almost choked to death on our show last.
I think he was checking something and something happened. I don't know.
Oh no! I've heard way too many bad stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Tyson Anderson, 5th round. Sands, if you want to tell that story in the chat, we'll bring it up. We're waiting on it. Tyson Anderson, Toledo. Another guy I had is honestly a 3rd or 4th round guy based on his talent and ability. Foot slipped. Pull it out of the mud.
Okay.
How did I was thinking in the first place,
Yeah. I was thinking something up underneath it, and I've heard way too many bad stories about that. And I was just,
hey, Sands, you want to hop on? Sands, you want to hop on and tell this story? Because I'll send you a link, buddy. Well, these two talk about Anderson. I'll send Sands a link if he wants to hop on. That's our show.
Anderson, as far as he goes, as far as I'm concerned, I love the thought of trading up and getting that guy because, speed. You talk about a guy that played, what was it, 900 special team snaps or something like that, as being the star safety of the team. Guys rock solid in my opinion.
again, vibes are off the chart. It's almost like
Right.
almost like it's too good because everyone loved him in Toledo. Like he was the teacher's favorite. He was a 3-time captain. It's almost like there's some hidden dirt with him that we don't know about.
Maybe he was the teacher's favorite because he was on Pornhub with one of them or something like that.
I mean, we don't know. But he's also got, I mean, my partner at D&H Sports, Hoji the Electric Smoji, one of the puppets, he says he's got a baby face, and the Bengals have a really good track record with baby faces, ergo Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, who's got that going for him too. But really, really solid athlete, though. Really fast, really flexible for his size. I think that bodes well for him playing either safety spot, maybe down the road taking Trey Flowers' spot as like your matchup with this tight end. Go ahead and go man with him. But to me, it's like, how many safeties are you keeping at this point? Because I think there was also the story about they had a 3rd-round grade on him or something like that, and they already drafted Dax Hill. So it's like, we don't want to draft him here because we already took a safety. But in the 5th round, it's like, this guy is clearly like the best player available for us. Let's just go ahead and trade up 8 spots for him because we don't want to miss him at this point. So now you have him and 5 other safeties that could potentially make the roster. If he's making the team, like, he's going to be active because you want this guy on special teams for everything that he does. But I'm just really interested in how that whole dynamic is going to go out because someone is going to lose their job and he's going to be a pretty quality player.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing's on the table, honestly, for Brandon Wilson. I just don't see with these guys that they have now how he makes the team. Maybe because of his return ability, but it's just really hard to see. So that's one guy, and then you've got the starting 2, and then the 2 we drafted. There's 4 right there, and then I'm trying to think. Is there one more that I'm missing?
Mike Thomas was signed.
Right.
He became like the 3rd safety when Ricardo Allen was hurt. So
I do think so. Hoss asked, but that's what we were talking about. Brandon Wilson. I think it's in jeopardy, and we saw Chris Evans doing a little more of the kick returns, which is what Brandon Wilson did. He's not a punt returner, so he's going to be in a competition for one of those last spots, and it all comes down to numbers and how many corners you keep, how many D-line you keep, linebackers. We can go thinner on linebackers because we played 2, but we're still going to have at least 5 on the roster.
Here's some big brain stuff, though, because when Brandon Wilson was in college, he was a running back, I think, first at Houston, and then they converted him to a defensive back. And
are we talking Puka?
Well, like with Wilson, like he barely plays defense. Even when he was healthy, he was barely out there in the rotation when guys were hurt. Like, he probably, to me, has a better chance of making the team as a running back than the safety at this point. I don't think it's like the worst idea.
Yeah. I like this. Yeah.
Versatility. That's key to a lot of those late roster spots.
Yeah.
We're going to add our buddy Mike here to give us the story before we go to the 7th round and Jeffrey Gunner. First, we got Mike, and we want the lawnmower story.
Yeah, I mean,
people want it. The people need the lawnmower story.
It's nothing too crazy. It was just the first mow of the season, and it was a little wet out still. I'm on a new riding mower. We just got it. And I got stuck in the mud like 3 times at this point because I just probably should have waited another week. But so it's stuck in the mud, and I'm pulling it out. Always push. Don't be stupid. But it just looked like a much shorter distance to pull. And I was like, I'll get it out real quick. And as you could tell with it being stuck, it's wet out. So I've got both feet firmly planted pulling, and then my one foot just slips. And for some reason, they build mowers with metal that comes to a point behind it. So my foot slips and my shin just slams into that. And it's one of those where immediately I just knew, I just fucked. So I went to go take a few steps, just make sure I could walk. So I was like, all right, I'll live. And I made it inside to patch myself up. Nothing broken, no stitches. But yeah, just a nice dad injury on the first mow of the season.
Now, some people would say just rub some dirt on it and be a man.
I went and mowed the rest. I had to push mow the rest of the lawn the next day. I took the rest of the day off, but I was back out there on Sunday.
I wasn't going to say pour some dirt on it, but I was going to say pour the whiskey on it, clean it all out, and
Yeah.
So wait, Mike, are you saying to never pull out?
Yeah, never pull out.
Never pull out. All right, for any
Always.
kids watching, first off, your parents are terrible. You shouldn't be watching this. Second off, never pull out.
There you go.
Yeah,
That
you know,
is
the
rub some
golden
dirt on
rule.
it. I went and I played pickup basketball the like 2 days later too. So you know, I just didn't care about the injury.
Yeah.
See, if I get hurt, I mean, you can ask my wife. I milk the dog shit out of that thing. I mean, I'm telling you, anything and everything I can get out of, I 100% will.
It's good to know. All right, Mike, you want to stay on here and give us any prospect talk, or you?
Yeah,
You're on the guys I still haven't watched.
You still
I'm
haven't
still
watched them?
working it.
Oh God! All
I'm
right.
working on it. I'm just now
Like,
watched
you think I've
Zachary
watched it,
Carter.
guys? I'm just BSing out here.
Yeah, I could BS. Yeah, Tyson Anderson. He's a safety. He's fast. He'll steal somebody's job. I don't know.
There you go.
That's all you gotta
Analyst.
do.
There you go. Hey, rally
Hey.
around the natty. Bengals and Brews brought to you by Planned Parenthood and Plan B.
Oh boy.
Oh Lord.
Topical.
We're canceled. All right. well, Mike, thanks for the time, buddy. If you got any more good stories, I'll send you another link. All right.
Yeah.
Next-
If you see something in the chat that's that interesting that I need to come on and tell it, just let me know.
Sounds good. Who day, brother?
Who
Who
dat?
day?
Oh man. No, before we get,
This is our show, John. It's a
Yeah.
Of course, you do a show with puppets sometimes, so
It's a regular Saturday for me.
yeah, exactly.
If anyone's like,
We ain't got no sticks up our ass, but hey, maybe we do.
speak for yourself, Derek.
No, before we transition to the Jeffrey Gunner,
You don't even know.
I don't even know what round
He's
we're in
done.
anymore.
He's done.
Oh.
Jeffrey Gunner, 7th round pick, fan favorite. It's been all over social media. His mom followed our account. Shout out to her. He followed our account the other day. Shout out to him. Love to
Yep.
have him on if you get a chance, but I'm not going to slide.
He's gonna
DM.
watch this one and he's gonna go. There ain't no
Yeah,
way I'm
he's-
fucking doing this.
Yeah, we potentially have Clark Harris coming on. If
Yeah.
he's watching, nope, that ain't happening now.
This is the
So-
perfect Clark Harris show. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
I just wonder if he'll have a brew. If he'll have a brew with
Yeah.
us. That'd be
Maybe
awesome.
I wonder if he drinks some of that avocado rum or whatever it is, avocado tequila. Gotta have something to keep the body right? No, Brandon Wilson. Do you think that there's a chance that they're looking for somebody to do both?
What the fuck you talking? See, you do this every time. What you talking about?
No,
Brandon
I
Wilson?
said
We're going to
before
Jeffrey
we
Gunner. You fucking do
transition-
this every time.
Listen. I said before we transition, I wanted to go back to the Tyson Anderson and how we were talking about the three safeties and Brandon Wilson.
Well, fine. I'm going to interrupt you, and I want to know about all these nicknames. Johnny Thunders, a.k.a. the Brain. Johnny Thunders.
John the Brain. I've never heard Johnny Thunder yet.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. That's what. Is there a story there, John?
Not that I know of.
John.
I don't know.
Oh, that's
Johnny-
Crypt.
is
That's
that-
Crypt Keeper
Is
talking.
that an actual like? No, I know Crypt gave me the Brain nickname.
Yeah.
I think that was just like I thought it was just like a play on my name though. Like I don't know what Johnny Thunders is, or if that was like an actual dude.
He's not. He doesn't have any porn out there. So, Crip, if you saw a guy named Johnny Thunders and he looked like John, that wasn't him.
Oh man, no,
Well,
but I was just
I shouldn't speak for you. Maybe it was.
yeah. There you go.
Well, my college
I
friends
know-
call me Sins for Johnny Sins, but that's a different story.
Yeah. I mean,
That
you
one
can go
went
into
over
it
my
if you
head. I
want.
don't know. I don't even know who that is. But
You can go into it if you want.
I'll tell about it when you're older.
Okay, fair enough. So Jeffrey Gunner, Derek, or do you want?
yeah,
Brandon
you're going to ignore me. I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to know-
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to know, like, do you think that they're looking for a guy who can do punt and kick returns to kind of that way you don't have as many guys in for one certain position?
So I don't know off the top of my head if Wilson has ever punt returned in his life. I know like he took Darius Phillips' job as kick returner. What was it, like 2019, and then they brought him back in 2020, and then it was still that role, and then he got a 2-year contract. So that's a good point though, because like they don't really have anyone explosive at punt returner right now, and I think that was one of their goals in this draft would be like to get a receiver that has that ability, and I think Simmons Darren Simmons and God, who's the assistant? Whatever his assistant special teams coach name is, said, yeah, this class doesn't really have any guys who are really threatening as punt returners. So we're just gonna, battle that out in training camp with maybe some undrafted guys. And Trent Taylor's still probably the favorite to do that. So it's just they didn't really add any like legit receivers aside from the undrafted guys to really take Trent Taylor's roster spot away. So they're not really at a point where, I understand like in order for Brandon Wilson to make the team, the more value that he has, the better. But it's at a point where that ship might have sailed for him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. After being injured last year, and he wasn't, even when he played. I mean, maybe he already was slightly injured and we didn't know about it, but when he played, he didn't seem as explosive as he.
I was going to say, other than his Pro Bowl year, he really hasn't shown much. I mean, he can catch the ball, which is apparently a plus for us because we had some trouble with that last year. But
yeah, we did.
But yeah, Jeffrey Gunter, you guys let's go into dive into him a little bit. Already changed his profile pic, or was it? No, it was his header. It was his header.
Both now.
Oh, did he? Nice.
Coastal Carolina ran a 4.7. I had him as at least 2 rounds higher than where he went, if not 3. He's had the production. He's a little older also, but that's kind of a theme of this draft with the COVID and the extra year that everybody was able to get.
Apparently, there's some Jets fans that are on his dick, but
yeah, because of the Zach Wilson thing. He blocked Zach Wilson a little too much when they played against BYU a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I had a guy hating on me, and I was like, I clipped the little Eminem thing where it's like, hibbity hoopla, get his ass another steroid. Yeah, like, fuck that Jets fan if he's watching. Fuck you, bitch. Come get some. But anyways, John, your thoughts on Jeffrey Gunter?
Yeah, they really like Coastal Carolina. It was him and 2 undrafted guys, but it was him and
a running back and
the guys they
wide receiver and running back.
Yeah, but it was last year. There was another edge defender from Coastal Carolina. The Bengals were supposed to be interested in, and he was Gunter's mentor, I think, too, which is weird because Gunter was with Coastal Carolina for 2 years. He transferred to NC State after trying to transfer to Syracuse. He couldn't play due to the transfer rules. Then he transferred back to Coastal Carolina and had his best, most productive years there. So yeah, he's a little bit on the older side, but I think you hinted at it. Phenomenal athlete for his size, really good closing speed around the edge. I think there's still work to be done in terms of stringing together moves, but I just look at where the edge rusher room is right now, and anything beyond a side to me should be an open competition, because I don't know about you guys, but Cam Sample and Khalid Kareem, they don't really do much for me personally. I don't think they're that dynamic of athletes, and I think Gunter has the edge, at least in that regard, over those 2 guys. So even if he's the 6th to last pick in the entire draft, I think I agree with you, Dale. He probably should have been picked in the late 5th, maybe the 6th round range. And I think it was Potts who said, if we had that extra 6th round pick, that was going to be a guy that we were going to target, and he just ended up falling all the way to here for whatever reason. So I think he's got a legit chance to make the roster and be edge number 4, just because he's a much better athlete than anyone else they have aside from Osai.
Yeah, I think the Cam Sample and Khalid Kareem, I personally think they would project better inside. What's your thoughts?
That's what I was going to say too. Is Cam Sample especially Sample, in my opinion, before John gives his thoughts on it. But Sample was a guy who I think if his versatility is what will keep him here, because he actually in the Senior Bowl, I think it was last year, where he played a little more inside, I think is what they really kind of like. And we didn't see him this year slide inside as much as I thought. So if he is going to stick around and be here a while, I think it'll be that inside. He'll have to play a lot more inside.
Yeah, I think when they drafted Sample, he was listed 6'3", 267, and I think the name a lot of people went to was Wallace Gilberry, just as a guy who would rush inside on passing downs and maybe bulk get him some of that weight up. And I think the reason why he played on the edge is because they just dealt with a bunch of injuries at edge. It wasn't just Osai, it was Khalid Kareem who missed most of the year as well. So he just became the main backup edge defender. And again, he just doesn't really have the speed around the corner to really threaten any offensive tackle. So now that you have probably more depth at defensive end, hopefully Osai comes back healthy, you might have a better plan to move Sample inside, especially now because, all you added was Zach Carter behind BJ Hill at defensive tackle. So you definitely need more explosion inside. And maybe that's where Sample's athleticism is best utilized.
Right. And with Carter being a rookie, Sample even could slide in and be the main guy. And if they do some of their, 5 defensive line fronts like they did last year, like Sample has every opportunity to go out there and earn playing time, especially as one of those extra D tackles. So he's going to have that opportunity. You mentioned Osai, so I just wanted to kind of say or ask, how high did you have him last year coming out as a prospect?
Had him as early second round, just because on paper he was 21 years old. He was insanely productive at Texas, and he was insanely athletic. I think the only downside was that he either didn't test with the 3-cone and short shuttle, or he just tested very average there compared to his speed and explosion. I think he was injured at the combine, then he tested his pro day, but like everything else was like flying colors, and it was just a matter of how good is he at football right now, because he just transitioned to like an edge defender after being a linebacker. He started kind of late in his life playing football in general, so he was definitely raw, but like on paper, incredibly productive, incredibly athletic.
Upside.
Like
his upside.
He was young. Like those guys typically pan out when they're drafted early and given opportunities. So getting him in the early part of the third round, it was kind of like Dax Hill for me. Like I wasn't quite expecting it, even when the pick was about to be made. Like I knew he was on the board, but I didn't know he was being considered. I think it was just a case of this guy, like he just checks all these boxes. We just had to bring him in.
See, I had him around the same range on my rankings, and that's why everybody's kind of upset with the Carmen pick. And I was like, if you flip those, that's a great first 3 rounds. Like if Carmen would have went in the third, and I in the second, I was like, I would have no problem with that. Like coming into the draft,
right?
So we'll
I think we even said that, and I know you're going to dog me again, but when Drew Sample was drafted.
God, you bring him up every episode.
It was Drew Sample every
fucking motherfucking episode.
Every other episode.
Why in the fuck?
But no, I think there were when was it Sample and Pratt? Was Pratt the third rounder? That
yeah.
I think that's who it was. Yeah. Somebody said if you flipped them, they wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah, Sample was a 6th round fucking on my board, so.
It's just always hard to do that though, because I feel like you have to evaluate it in real time, like who's available there, like is the process good or is it bad? And there's just no justifying the Sample pick. I'm sorry, Dave.
No.
I gotta join in on the slander.
No, I don't. And no one will. And you can't even justify it, but you still bring it up, knowing you bring it up every time.
Starting tight end for the Bengals next year, Drew Sample. Get off my lawn.
I swear, if that's like you calling the Dax Hill pick, if Drew Sample comes out, goes off for 10 tutties, 1,000 yards receiving out of nowhere.
Listen, he averages 10 per catch. So
I'll never hear the end of it. He can't catch the fucking ball though.
Look up his average.
He don't drop it.
He's like 9.5 per reception or something like that.
I don't want to dog on anybody that's on the Bengals because he seems like a fun guy. He seems like a great
phenomenal human being.
Yes.
He's already a leader there, and I hope that his wife's family is okay. I think they're still.
Yeah, no, are they still in Ukraine? Yeah,
And then you make
prayers for
about him.
Family.
It pisses me off every time. I think you do it on purpose at this point. So
maybe we're gonna have to just start getting the bleeper button for you or something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to just log off here. I'll be like, text me when you're done talking about Drew Sample. I'll be back. Undrafted free agents to watch. Since we are, I got 2 guys that I'll say. One being Ben Brown, guard center. I think he competes with Trey Hill. Second one being Kwame Lassiter, the second. I know that we signed the guy from Coastal Carolina. I can't say his name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But Lassiter is a little more of a return man with some speed. So I think he might have a chance to stick. That's my 2. But John, what's your thoughts on our undrafted free agents?
Yeah. So didn't Lassiter's dad? He played safety in the NFL. I want to say.
Yeah, he was in the NFL too.
I think it was a little bit before my time, but 2 guys that I am really intrigued. I think Carson Wells should have been drafted. He got an edge rusher.
That's
Colorado.
He's like a DN linebacker. What do you see his role as, John?
I think he's an edge. Like I think being 6'3", 240, 33-inch arms, I think that's fine to be like a rotational guy off the edge. And again, there's opportunity there behind like edge 4 or 5 or even 6 if they go that deep. But again, incredibly productive at Colorado. Like 96th percentile sack market share, 95th percentile tackle for loss market share. Good enough athlete. I didn't really do well in terms of flexibility or explosion, but I think he ran like a 4.6 40 at that size, but I think he had 360 career special team snaps, and he can drop back in coverage as well, along with playing the edge. So I think his profile signified him probably should have been drafted, and that's just the nature. You sign 10 of these guys, maybe you get a draftable grade on one or two, and Wells to me is that guy. But the guy who probably should have went undrafted just because of the nature of his career, Delante Hood. I don't know where Peru State is. I didn't even know that was a real college. That's apparently.
Hold on, is this a real person? Did we?
No, I was like,
Delante Hood. He's a
this guy
cornerback.
get drafted?
Yes.
Or?
No, he did not get drafted. And He's
Okay.
reportedly signed as an undrafted free agent for the Bengals. But I think he transferred from one place to then Toledo. So he played one game with Tyson Anderson. And then he transferred to Peru State. And then he tested at Nebraska's Pro Day, which I'm assuming is where the Bengals first heard about him, because I don't know if Peru State film exists in the universe. But
Zach Taylor's all over that Nebraska.
yeah, he's
had
loving
ideas.
the Nebraska picks.
But
What are
very-
they? The Cornhuskers?
yeah. So
Yeah.
very good athlete, though. 80th percentile speed, 70th percentile flexibility, 83rd percentile pass deflection market share. Like, I don't know. Like, I know he played at Peru State and he's a little bit older, but I think he has got a good chance to, like, at least squeaking out a practice squad spot. And honestly, behind all these other corners that they have, like, there's not a lot of depth there. I think he can make some noise if he shows out in training camp. That's been the case for some of these.
But who
quarterbacks.
was the last undrafted free agent that we signed that actually amounted to anything?
To anything like what? Perfect.
I was gonna say Burfict.
Yeah, I was going to say Burfict was.
We've had guys like there for a while. We were hitting that linebacker a lot. I can't remember the guy that's
Stanley Morgan. Stanley Morgan's probably the best.
Yeah.
But then again, like all Stanley Morgan is, he's a wide receiver 5 with special teams guy. You're not expecting these guys to be starters, but to maybe carve out roles compared to other guys.
Who was it? 3 years ago? We had the one guy that started, and then we realized that was the stupidest thing.
Damian Willis.
That's who it was. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But yeah,
making noise in the preseason and then finding a roster spot, seeing how far you can go. That's the expectation for these guys.
Yeah,
nothing more.
Exactly. Speaking of free agency and stuff like that, do you envision any more moves being made?
I think there are 87 guys on the roster, and that doesn't count. I think they're planning to sign a tight end who they tried out at minicamp. So let's say they're 88. I maybe one, maybe two, but I don't think it's going to be like Larry Ogunjobi would be the biggest name that I think they would sign at this point. I don't foresee them going out and getting like a tight end who can compete for starting snaps. And just looking at the rest of the roster, there's no openings.
Akeem Hicks, nobody like that.
Yeah. I don't think Akeem Hicks wants to like come here because I don't think he's going to get a ton of snaps at this point. So I think you're looking at like whoever the equivalent of a Nick Eubanks would be at like defensive tackle. Like I think maybe, but if there's going to be a notable name, I think it's Ogunjobi, but that's definitely up in the air.
So I'm going to have to deal with Brandon Allen as my backup quarterback.
I mean,
why does everybody hate on Brandon Allen?
Who else is there?
I don't know. I know. I want us to bring it. Here's mine because we're talking undrafted free agents, and I was like, why don't we just give a call to Carson Strong? Like, he's got a cannon. Why not bring him into camp? I was hoping we'd bring in another guy just for preseason.
I think they'll have 4 for preseason and stuff like that. So they'll bring in one more guy, I think, but to compete for Jake Browning, that's who.
But we can all agree if anything happens to Burrow, we're fucked. So
yeah,
always been the case.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a strong arm, though. That's why they loved Dolagala a couple years ago. Even though he probably isn't very smart. So,
and he keeps making like practice squats, right, and bouncing around.
It's because of the arm. Like, the arm will get you a chance, but you got.
I just want to watch it in preseason. You know, like I'll probably take my daughter to a preseason game again. So, give me something to be excited about during those preseason games.
No, honestly, at the Miami game, the preseason, what I was most excited about was Michael Carter, or who was the running back for UC that played for Miami? I can't remember his name now. Warren. Yeah, Michael Warren. That was what I was the most excited about, and he didn't even play for us. So, you're right. Give us something to be excited.
That's what I'm like. I don't know. That's pretty bad when we're who cares? Yeah. Moving on. Well, Derek, you got anything else? Like
the preseason is the games that everybody loves until they get here.
Pretty much.
I don't really have any other questions. I mean,
no, I actually, one of the questions I asked you last night on your show was the wide receiver 4 whole ordeal, but you guys done a great job answering that. But if you want to, there you go, Colin Kaepernick. Hoss wants to know if you think we'll sign Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, he'll sell tickets at least. Yeah, you're right.
Whatever, just something. Give me something to watch in preseason. I don't care. I'm not picky.
RG3. I know there was a lot of people talking about
he's
RG3.
in the media now. He's a media man. All right, John. You want to plug anything before we get you out of here? Appreciate your time, man. You've been awesome.
Yeah, I got nothing to plug. You guys know where I am. Cincy Jungle, Orange and Black Insider, D&H Sports. Go ahead and check us out.
Yeah. Oh, hey, real quick. Before we hop off here, I did want to ask, how excited are you guys to be able to be in the locker room again? That was one question I had for you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure the credentialed media is very excited.
Come on. Don't act like you will get in there, I'm sure.
So I think I'm still Cincy Jungle is a blog, so I'm still labeled as a blogger to the eyes of the Bengals. There's nothing wrong with that. They just don't see.
You do the same shit as James. What are you talking about?
I mean, I got some thoughts on that, but I'll save that for another time. But I'm comfortable with it. Like, I don't honestly. I've watched one game in a press box before. I was not a big fan of it. I'm fine watching the games at home, and I'm fine with James doing all the work of getting the quotes so I can post it online. So,
James do the work, and I'll steal it from him.
Exactly.
Hey, it's kind of like what happened to Joe Goodberry. And we want to talk about that one too. And no comment, anybody? All right.
Oh no, I'm not touching that one.
Me neither. I just had to bring it up.
I'll touch it because Paul reached out to me about it.
Okay, good, because he should.
Paul did not reach out to Joe, which is the problem. And I respect the hell out of Paul Dehner. He puts in so much work, more work than most beat writers in any other sport that I've seen.
And he's hilarious. He just seems like a good person.
Great dude. Great vibes again.
Paul,
great vibes, good person, fun guy. Fun guy, as Derek says.
So I don't believe that Paul just blatantly ripped off of Goodberry's work. I honestly do believe it was some form of coincidence because it was a topic that I think a lot of Bengals fans would find interesting. What happened, though, is that Joe saw it. He was like, hey, that looks exactly like my work. It definitely got around to the point where Paul saw it, and he saw it in his mentions and whatnot. If it were me, if I was in that position and I posted something on CJ that was a blatant copy of what someone who with 55,000 followers did, I would at least make a statement and say, hey, there was no ill intent with this. Nothing happened. I would reach out to him and clear up the situation. Then you could have a laugh about it. He didn't reach out at all, which I found a little bit weird.
Yeah. And I mean, Paul seems like a good guy, and Joe, friend of the show. We love Joe. I know you and Joe before went and got to, what was that, the Senior Bowl or Draft Combine? We're like roomies. See, I've been following you guys for a while with all that. And we love Joe and whatever. So Paul, I know you don't give a fuck about what my opinion, but reach out to Joe, man. It'll be all good after that. Just say, hey, it was a coincidence. I just wanted you to know. And Joe will be like, cool.
Exactly.
Have a beer sometime.
In all honesty, with media, it's probably something he thinks will just flow under the bridge and then hit on about his business.
And it will. Yeah. Like it will, but whatever.
It just seems like it's courtesy to me. Like that's just not
right.
I mean, I can only speak for myself, so that's what
Same. All right. Well, I probably shouldn't have said that. We probably should cut this out, but we're live, so
no, we're not going to cut shit. We don't cut shit on this episode.
That's true.
We've had Glenn Goodberry twerking. We've had hashtag live stream.
Did you hear about the live stream on the live stream?
When was this?
Okay, so we had the Goodberry brothers on, and we had Bengals captain on, and then
someone pissed, right?
Yeah, Jeff Iceman, Strawberry Ice. He left his earbud in, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be back," and he took a fucking piss. Just right. It was. You only get it here.
Yeah,
that's our endorsement for our show. Yeah. You never know
anybody wants to bring us on their channel.
No. That's Anthony invited us over after we had him on last week, and I'm like, Anthony, don't. Well, Jeff got in there and invited himself onto Anthony's show. Is how it started, and he's like, "Oh, you guys can come." And I was like, "Oh, that's a mistake."
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate your time, John. Keep crushing it out there. Love everything you guys do. Derek, you want to send us out? Say anything stupid to get us out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Okay. Anyway.